When I found out I was going to be a parent, I immediately felt a lot of anxiety and worry. So I went on to BetterHelp to try to look for a therapist to help me with that.
My relationship with my family and with my boyfriend and with myself were suffering. I really needed help.
I was ruminating a lot. Really getting those thoughts out to a therapist and getting feedback was just life-changing.
Discover what BetterHelp Online Therapy can do for you. Visit BetterHelp.com today.
Hi, welcome to Crime Clueless. I'm your host, Jenna. This week, we are doing something a little different. We have brought you a two-part crossover from our sister show, Vanished Voices. This is part 2, so if you haven't listened to part 1, go listen to that. Then come right back to hear the rest of the story. And stay tuned. At the end, I have a development that you need to know about. Hi, welcome to Vanished Voices. We're your hosts. I'm Jenna.
And I'm Shannon.
If you're joining us for the first time, go back and listen to part 1 first. This story deserves to be heard from the beginning. For everyone returning for part 2, thank you for coming back. What we're about to cover is hard, but Phylicia Barnes deserves every minute of it. Now, here's where we left off. Phylicia Simone Barnes, 16 years old, honor student from Monroe, North Carolina. She traveled to Baltimore over Christmas 2010 to visit her half-sister Dina, a trip she had made before, a normal trip, staying with family, safe. On December 28th, something happened in that apartment in Northwest Baltimore. Phylicia had posted on Facebook that she was fine. She had been in contact that morning with friends, her half-sisters, and that was the last anyone heard from her. What followed was one of the most extensive missing person searches Baltimore has ever seen. FBI helicopters, reward money, billboards, hundreds of volunteers, hundreds of police officers searching parks, and a national media that looked almost completely the other way. Was it because Phylicia was Black? This country has never treated missing Black girls the same way it treats missing white ones. And now, Phylicia has been missing for 113 days, which brings us to the morning of April 20th, 2011. That is where we will pick up today. This is part 2 of Phylicia's story, and I have to be honest with you, it does not get easier from here. There is an ending that will sit with you long after this episode is over. Let's go back to Baltimore. 11 days later, on the morning of April 20th, 2011, workers near the Conowingo Dam on the Susquehanna River spotted something in the water. It was a body. At this point, Phylicia had been missing for 113 days. Where this body was found, there had been no cell phone pings in the area from anyone whose data they'd pulled. And they have pulled a lot of people's phone data at this point. Later that same day, oddly enough, another body was found 3 miles downstream from where Phylicia was found. It was the body of a Black man. Both bodies were nude when they were found. Right away, speculation went wild that the two were connected, and it has to be this other person. It doesn't sound like they find bodies in this water very often, and the fact that 2 were found on the same day is
Right.
very odd.
And I would say, serial killer, but generally you don't flip back and forth between male and female.
Right.
So.
And their age difference. So the other person who was found is a man who was 53 years old. He was from Virginia. His name is Daryl Harper. His wife hadn't seen him for about a month and a half. He had left to go get stuff from their old apartment in Maryland. Then he had checked into a hospital police found on March 25th, requesting help with mental health issues. He had only stayed for a night or two, and he reportedly told a relative that he had planned to take his own life. And reports show that he had attempted suicide in the past. It's unclear if this was ruled as suicide or not, but investigators did not believe he was the victim of foul play. So again, just completely unrelated,
Mm-hmm.
but
Fine. So now her search has found two different people.
Now, Phylicia was identified shortly after. The Office of the Chief Medical Examiner ruled her death a homicide. The cause of death was determined but deliberately withheld by investigators in the beginning.
Oh, okay.
They believed the information was too critical to the case to release publicly. The ME estimated that Phylicia had been dead for 3 to 4 months, but really tough because of the water and because of the temperatures.
Oh,
From
cold.
January, February,
So
March.
she was well preserved.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
They found no signs of trauma.
Did that river freeze?
It had a dam.
Okay.
I don't believe that it froze, but maybe parts
Just
of it.
cold enough that okay.
They found no signs of trauma or injury to her body. Later on in court reporting, the ME says that she was asphyxiated. And like I said, manner of death was ruled homicide.
Yeah.
Now, because Phylicia was found outside of Baltimore, was about 40 or 50 miles outside of Baltimore, the state police took over the investigation at that point. The medical examiner's findings, while it pointed to asphyxiation as the cause of death, they couldn't tell whether drowning played a role, and they found no physical trauma, meaning they couldn't tell if she was strangled. All they could say was that they knew she didn't choke and they knew she didn't drown, but they couldn't tell how asphyxiation happened, if that makes sense. What eventually emerged during trial testimony was that the medical examiner's findings pointed to asphyxiation as the cause of death. Whether drowning played a role was debated. The forensic evidence showed limited, if any, indicators of physical trauma, which complicated the picture considerably. Defense attorneys would later use that ambiguity extensively.
So they can't tell if she was sexually assaulted?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
What the river gave up and the medical examiner confirmed was this: Phylicia did not die by accident. She did not wander away and meet some random fate. Someone killed her. Someone put her in that river. Someone drove approximately an hour from the apartment she was last seen at and made sure she disappeared in the water. And that someone, investigators believed, was someone she knew. This search that followed Phylicia's discovery shifted in focus entirely. Obviously, this is no longer a missing persons case, it's a murder investigation. Resources were redirected, wiretaps went up, questioning intensified. The name that kept surfacing, the name that had been circling this case since the very beginning, moved from a person of interest to the center of the investigation. And his name was Michael Johnson. So Michael was between 26, 27 years old when Phylicia went missing. Like we mentioned, he and Dina had dated for years, but recently broken up. He was in the process of moving out. According to investigators, he was the last person known to have seen Phylicia alive. By the time she was found, he had already been questioned 8 times. And now, having found Phylicia and with the homicide ruling, the questions got a great deal more serious. Meanwhile, back in Monroe, North Carolina, Phylicia's community gathered to say goodbye. Her funeral was held on May 7th at Springfield Baptist Church. Friends, family, classmates, people who had known her since she was small, people who watched her grow into that remarkable young woman she was, came together to grieve her. She was surrounded by purple flowers, which was her favorite color. Her half-brother, Brian, stood at that funeral and made a decision that day. He was going to join the Baltimore Police Department. He was so moved by the work the detectives had done trying to find his sister. He said the relentlessness of it, the care of it, he wanted to be part of the work himself.
So I love that. It's very heartbreaking that is why.
The catalyst.
Yes.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, oh, wow, that's rather amazing too.
And he probably became such an empathetic, sometimes.
Oh, yeah, he's going to understand.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, he'll start off in patrol, but he's fully going to understand what people are going through and how they're feeling.
Absolutely. In 2012, he did follow through. Brian Barnes became a Baltimore police officer. In that same year, the Maryland General Assembly passed a bill called Phylicia's Law. It was legislation aimed at improving coordination between law enforcement agencies and community groups when a child goes missing, trying to close the gaps, making sure the machinery worked better the next time. This was the first law of its kind in this state, named after a child who was not white. And that's pretty wild to me that it took all the way until the 2011, 2012 for that to happen.
Yeah.
But her name is now helping other children hopefully be found
Right.
faster.
Well, or at least I think parents know when, okay, I agree, she's probably a runaway versus no, this is not right. This is not normal. She's not a runaway just because she's a teenager.
Right.
Especially when we didn't even have a fight. No, she's just gone.
Exactly. And with that, under Maryland law, state police are supposed to be notified if a child is missing for more than 24 hours. And that didn't happen at all in Phylicia's case. So there were absolutely gaps in the system.
I actually know somebody who had a child run away. They were sharing information flyers on Facebook, and so we would share those out. They found her down in Tucson and brought her back within 4 days.
I bet those are the longest 4 days.
But I don't know if the police were involved because I'll just say it wasn't surprising. There had been communication of, I'm going to leave.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that's where I'm like, it didn't stop the mother from searching for her.
Of course.
However, there was look, we know she ran away. This is who we suspect her with. Please help us find her. And I can't remember if she was still 17 or if she had just turned 8, because it was around that age time frame too. But yeah, I just thought about that from my statement. I'm like, wait, I actually know somebody that's happened to, and they very much knew it was a runaway situation. It didn't stop them from searching because she's potentially with dangerous people. You need to be home, blah, blah, blah. I'm assuming she was still 17. But I just thought about that from this perspective of whether your child's a runaway or not versus, no, this is not normal behavior.
Right. And I wish they would
and it
listen to that more.
Yeah, especially when it's the not normal behavior.
Yes.
You shouldn't, especially when they're under 18, there shouldn't be any less effort provided to a parent.
Yes.
For a runaway. However, there's a distinct difference between the child you're having difficulties with versus the one this is just not.
I don't understand why they don't listen to the parents more.
Right. I don't either. And it was funny because I meant to tell you this. I was watching TV and somebody, granted, it's a fictional show.
Yeah.
But somebody came in to report their child missing and they're like, 9 times out of 10 just show up in a couple. I was like, oh my God. That was literally the response. It was an eye roll from the detective, not even the detective, the police officer.
Yeah.
And just these always end up, which I get, it's frustrating if, again, statistically, that people turn up.
Yeah.
However, it doesn't make it any less nerve-wracking for the person reporting it.
Totally.
So yeah, I mean, just a little smidgen of concern maybe.
Right. I watched something this weekend where they went in to report and they said the same thing.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10 they'll show up.
And it wasn't
it was the burbs.
Okay. Yeah, it wasn't even the officer was literally saying that to another officer.
Oh.
It wasn't even directly to the person.
They were saying that to the people reporting it on the burbs.
Oh yeah, no, this was just they always show up within a day or two, as in this is a waste of our time.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my God.
Okay, fine. You two have that conversation quietly and to the side. while you're trying to find
Right.
the child. Ugh. Over investigate compared to under,
Right.
just in case. Justice for Phylicia herself, that was still a long, painful, maddening road ahead. And it is a road that, depending on how you define justice, never reached its destination. Now, Michael Johnson, like we said, he's a young man from Baltimore. He had been in a relationship with Dina for a long time.
Oh, so when they searched Dina's apartment, did they find any DNA, any blood, anything that would, well, of course, they said the body was actually in great condition. It was just the strangulation. So,
Right. Nothing.
okay.
Investigators know that Michael was probably the last person to have seen Phylicia alive, which made him significant from the beginning. But we know that's not evidence. From the moment Phylicia was reported missing, Michael was on law enforcement's radar. Questioned again. We talked about how many times he was questioned. They put a wiretap on Michael's phone.
Oh, okay. I know you said wiretaps, but I didn't know with who.
Yep, one of them was on Michael's phone.
Okay.
And those recordings would become one of the most discussed pieces of evidence in the case. In one recorded conversation, Michael is talking about Phylicia's death with family members. At one point, he wonders aloud whether his DNA might have been found under her fingernails. His explanation was that they had wrestled the day before she went missing.
Why are you wrestling with a 16-year-old girl and you're in the process of moving?
Right. Exactly. So he's just wondering if the water would get rid of it or if they could possibly find.
I mean, and none of his family members thought that was like an odd.
I mean,
it is the big question. If somebody in your immediate family hurts somebody else, would you tell on them? And it's like you don't know until you're in it. And then it's like, ooh.
Yeah.
And I think we like to say, oh yeah, I would. But again, until you're in it.
Right. You can't say what you would do for sure. Absolutely.
That is a weird thing to wonder.
It is. And when prosecutors heard that, they heard a man trying to get ahead of forensic evidence.
Well, yeah, create a reason.
Yep. Create a reason before anyone asks
Funny
you
how
about it.
wrestling seems to be the common reason in cases that we've looked into.
Mm-hmm. I guess
there's a lot of wrestling going on.
It's weird because I don't have that at my house.
I can't remember the last time I wrestled.
I can't either.
Probably like fighting with my brother when I was like 12, wrestling.
I don't think I wrestled at all ever because I have all sisters. When the defense heard that, they interpreted it as a young man making an offhand comment in a private conversation. Nothing to see here, of course.
No, I'm not. That's a weird thing to come up with.
Yeah. Now, one thing when...
Oh, do we know who else had their phone tapped?
I don't.
Okay.
He's the only one who's gone to trial.
Ah, so he's actually been charged. Okay.
Yeah. Part of the cell phone data showed that prior to Phylicia going missing in like the 6 months before, Michael and Phylicia had exchanged over 600 text messages.
What's that time frame?
6 months.
Prior or after?
Before Phylicia went missing.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a lot. And
odd.
Yes. It doesn't sound like they were
inappropriate.
Mm-hmm. It more, and so the prosecution
inappropriate
said,
in that you're communicating with a minor.
Yes.
That you've been with her sister for years. You would maybe call yourself not an uncle, but brother-in-law.
Brother-in-law, kind of.
But like, still.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. Was Dina aware of that?
That I tried to find and couldn't.
Okay.
And now that is kind of the time when their relationship was
going downhill.
Yeah.
Oh.
But it doesn't sound like they were inappropriate or romantic or anything like that. The prosecution framed it as, well, he was grooming her.
I was
The
going to say that
defense
grooming word's going to
says,
come in.
No, we're just friends.
I mean,
so
but that's what grooming is. If he establishes communication with her, again, without being explicitly inappropriate, now he's fully quote unquote grooming. Because again, I still think it's weird that you would be communicating with your girlfriend's minor sister.
Right. Agreed.
And especially extensively.
Yeah.
Sure, 1 or 2, a happy birthday.
Right. But
no, yeah.
Yeah. So that was another thing that pushed them.
Then I would have to say Dina did not know.
It doesn't sound like it.
Yeah.
But I have more for you. They worked on pulling their case together. It is very much circumstantial. 1 year and 5 days after Phylicia's body was found, so on April 25th, 2012, Michael was arrested. He had been on the wiretap saying that he was thinking about fleeing to Brazil so that they couldn't extradite him, which I'm pretty sure that they still could. I think he's wrong on that. But that made it so he didn't get a bail set when he was arrested. They arrested him on first-degree murder charges. When he was taken into custody, his mugshot and his first court appearance, he had a black eye and other injuries. The defense says that the police officers roughed him up. Police officers say that he was running, fleeing where they were. Already from the beginning, we've got two completely different sides. The first trial began in January of 2013. The prosecution built their case around a few key pillars. The first was the wiretap phone calls, Johnson's recorded comments about the DNA, and actually, they didn't find any DNA on Phylicia. So he didn't even need to have that conversation. His discussions with the case, with family members, prosecutors argued it was some consciousness of guilt. There was testimony from Dina herself. Phylicia's half-sister took the stand. Prosecutors found on his phone a 16-minute video, and it had actually been from the summer before. It's a sexually charged video. It involves Dina, Phylicia, Michael, and Michael's younger brother. I guess the summer before, they had been at a party, and Dina had encouraged Phylicia to have a drink or two. Then they had decided to go streaking. Then they went back to Dina's apartment. There's a video of all four of them playing games, kissing, grabbing each other.
They actually have the video?
Mm-hmm. And in court,
it
played it facing Dina because there's a minor involved.
Yeah.
Now, I believe Marilyn's age of consent is 16, but still the age difference where she's 16 and he's in his 20s because he is on the video.
But then the other younger brother, he was also 16.
Exactly.
So is it?
And there are no charges that come from this video ever at all for anybody.
But was Dina participating in this video?
Yeah.
With her sister and the 16-year-old?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. And the prosecution argues that this night was a turning point. It's when Michael became extra interested in Phylicia. There are parts of the video where he is with Dina, but you can clearly see him looking at Phylicia.
Well, and
during that.
Knowing this is literally the night before.
No, this was the summer before.
Oh, so it's
before the text messages. Well, before some of the text messages.
That is really strange.
Yeah. It is really strange.
So now she's really 15, not 16, if it's the summer before.
She would have been 16 because her birthday is right at the beginning of January.
Okay.
So she was 16 in that,
But still.
Too young.
Again, it's your sister.
Yeah. And you've got a 10-year age gap here.
Yeah. And it's the fact that you're also involving another minor boy.
His brother. And so they played it in court, but facing Dina, and then asked her questions during it, which I'm sure was...
So the jury didn't see it?
They didn't see it.
Okay.
But they heard about it.
Oh, and that's probably because there's minors in it.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
I sold my car in Carvana last night.
Well, that's cool.
No, you don't understand. It went perfectly. Real offer, down to the penny. They're picking it up tomorrow. Nothing went wrong.
So, what's the problem?
That is the problem. Nothing in my life goes as smoothly. I'm waiting for the catch.
Maybe there's no catch.
That's exactly what a catch would want me to think.
Wow, you need to relax.
I need to knock on wood. Do we have wood? Is this table wood?
I think it's laminate.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's close enough.
Car selling without a catch. Sell your car today on Carvana. Pickup fees may apply.
Now, one of the law clerks, as they were getting ready to go to trial, realized that the Easy Pass that Michael had applied for had a different phone number than the number that they had subpoenaed and gotten all of the records from. He had gotten a new number in the summer of 2010. Once they subpoenaed the other number, they found over 1,300 additional texts
between him and
Phylicia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we have a lot of texting back and forth in a relationship where he wasn't exactly forthcoming about any of that.
No.
Now, they also brought a witness whose name is either James McCrae or he goes by a couple names, but he's basically a petty criminal who has testified in a few high-profile crimes. He testified that Michael had called him to the apartment on the day that Phylicia was killed. He said that Michael had shown him Phylicia's body and asked him for advice on what to do with this situation that he's in. They couldn't find any links between Michael and this witness, James. Like, they couldn't find a phone call to him in Michael's phone records. They couldn't find text to him. They couldn't prove a way that he had gotten James to come to the apartment that day. The state argues that there are things that James knew about Phylicia and about the situation that were not public knowledge. They also claim that James was about to get out of prison and he wasn't getting anything in exchange for testifying. Now, the defense points out a couple things. First, James claimed that it happened before Christmas when it was after. He talks about being on a second floor apartment, and this apartment was actually the basement level. Also, they pointed out that there were no phone calls between the two on the day of, and a few other things about his credibility. So not exactly the star witness that the prosecution had hoped for, but he was part of this. Fourth, there was a neighbor whose name was Elvis who testified that he had seen Michael carrying this large storage container out of the apartment. Now, he says, keeping in mind it's December in Baltimore, that Michael was sweaty, breathing heavy, didn't have a shirt on, trying to get this container up the stairs and out. And he offered to help Michael move it, and Michael would not let him. He said, no, I've got it. No, thank you. I don't need your help. On cross-examination, the time he says is like 10 a.m. Well, unfortunately for the prosecution, Phylicia is still texting and talking to people at 10 a.m., and we know Michael is actively moving things out. Now, a couple other things. They talked about a storage container, and the prosecution tried to bring in a storage container to have someone get inside it. and say, look, they can totally fit. And I don't know if they didn't learn anything from OJ's trial or what, but they didn't even get the chance because the judge was like, there's no evidence that she was ever in a storage container. You never found a storage container. The ME says there's no evidence.
Oh, that's right, because she was in the river.
In the storage container. The prosecution says they found a lid that would match the exact storage container they're talking about in the dam, but it wasn't collected as evidence. They took a picture of it, but you can't even use the picture because you didn't collect it.
Right.
It's useless. The storage container, Dina also gave conflicting testimony about this.
I'm like, again, I can't believe that they wouldn't have collected anything in that area, whether they thought it pertained to the case or not, because you just never know what, like, as most detectives say, you don't know what's going to actually come out as being evidence.
Right.
So you just collect all trash.
It's like a case we just did for Crime Clueless. They collected a turkey baster and it ended up having our person's DNA on it.
Yeah.
And antifreeze in it. Like, you don't know what you're going to need. So collect everything.
Yeah.
But they didn't. And they weren't even allowed to use the picture because there's no surveillance of Phylicia leaving the apartment. So they're saying it had to be in something like that he's moving. Dina had said that she had this big blue storage container that was like a 35-gallon or bigger that had been in her closet that she had moved stuff to the apartment in. She'd only lived there for 8-9 months, not even a year, I guess, at this point. But she still had the containers for next time she moved. She said it was missing. She said she found it with Michael's stuff. But then it gets so muddy because he did go buy storage containers at Walmart, but they were only 22-gallon, which are pretty small. She says hers was bigger, but then she says he replaced one of hers with one of the small ones. But she can't be sure which size it was. They're all blue. The storage container is so messy.
You could tell it was moved or gone. I don't know. Again, why didn't you say anything sooner?
I feel like she did, but I feel like it went back and forth. Like, oh, it's missing. Oh, wait, no, I found it in his stuff. Oh, wait, no, it's in my closet. But like,
so
back and forth, back and forth.
Was she like defending him?
It doesn't seem like it, but it also doesn't sound like she came out against him.
Yeah.
I don't know. The defense says for the wiretap calls that Michael was just scared, thinking about things, processing it, saying it out loud. They said it's not guilt, it's fear. They called for the mistrial before it was their turn to take over. And the judge said, I don't think that the state has made their case, but why don't you go ahead and let's finish this? They called one witness. The only witness they called was somebody who worked with Michael and just testified that it wasn't weird. He called out sick. He called out sick all the time.
Right.
And that was the only witness that they had. Now, before the jury took it, they gave them the option to find him guilty of first degree or second degree. On first degree, they found him not guilty.
Yeah.
On second degree, the jury did find him guilty.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
On March 20th, his lawyer requested a new trial, and the judge granted it. Yeah.
Wow.
Now, this is related to James, our witness. They said that the prosecution was withholding information about him and his credibility and trying to paint him as something completely different than he was. Jury members, though, after said that his testimony had nothing to do with it. It was listening to all of the wiretapped calls. They said not once did Michael say he was innocent or he didn't do it. He only talked about here are things they could find and what will happen if I'm convicted.
Again, very interesting conversations.
Agreed. Well, the second trial comes and It's a year later. The state was told that they had to redact certain things from the wiretapped calls. They also chose at this point to not have James come and be part of this trial, since that was the problem the first time. Right before, it's just so crazy. Right before the end of the prosecution's part, they're playing these wiretapped calls, and something that they were specifically told had to be taken out was left in, and it was left in twice. So the jury heard it. They can't unhear it. The defense immediately calls for a mistrial, and then instead they just ask for an acquittal. The judge grants the mistrial. The third trial, they take him a third time, and it's a disaster before it can even begin. In January of 2015, but before it starts, Michael's defense says the other judge never ruled on the acquittal. They called it a mistrial, but they didn't rule on the acquittal. The judge says, "You're right. I'm going to rule on it. There wasn't enough. They did not prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt." And he grants the acquittal. So the state's attorney office reindicts Michael on second-degree murder, and the defense argues that this is double jeopardy. The prosecution says that after the second judge declared a mistrial, he no longer had the authority to acquit Michael, so he couldn't have ruled on that. So the third judge shouldn't have ruled on that. And the state agrees, or the state of Maryland, the Attorney General's office agrees. They assign the case to the same judge that had just acquitted him in the third trial. I don't know. I don't know if it's incredibly good luck for Michael or if they kind of sort of agreed, but wanted to give the state a sort of win. I don't. So the defense files the motion to dismiss the indictment. The judge agrees, dismisses the new charge. The third trial doesn't start until March 2018. And remember, the first one had started in 2012.
Yeah.
And that one was set to not have a jury.
I'm so used to judges not overruling juries that I'm like, this is wild.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the third trial was acquitted pretty much right away because the judge already assumed there wasn't enough in the case. And it took 6 years to go from trial to trial to trial, where during that time,
So he's fully been exonerated.
He's fully acquitted. Yep.
For Phylicia. No double jeopardy. Cannot be charged again.
Yep.
Wow.
After that third time, which was kind of multiple times. He spent about 3 years in jail because he wasn't allowed
Right. No bail.
And then he was found guilty until they called for a mistrial because of what the prosecution withheld about James as their witness. The judge said at the end of the third trial that there were far too many questions left unanswered for any fact finder to find Johnson guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. He also said the state had failed to establish a motive and it was too much of a circumstantial case. I mean, they didn't have any DNA, they didn't have a crime scene, they couldn't really tell how she had died. There were no phone pings near where she was
Did they ever
found from Michael.
polygraph him?
I'm not sure. He did get a lawyer pretty much immediately after she
probably
went
not.
missing.
Yeah.
So probably not.
But again, if he didn't do it, you would, let's polygraph.
If he didn't do it, let's polygraph, and also let's find out who did do it. It feels like if it wasn't him, then who?
Right.
How does that timeline work that day then? Because she's still...
The only other option is your younger brother. And it seems like he was worried.
Right. And also, I don't think he had a car.
Yeah. He said he walked back over, but I mean...
Exactly. And I don't think his phone, because they did do his cell phone pings and everything like that. I guess the day after Phylicia went missing, someone on a computer in the apartment, did search, can investigators see where your phone is if it's turned off? But they have no way of proving who
Right.
possibly
Who searched
did
that? But I get it's all circumstantial, but come on.
Right. There's a lot. The prosecution, their theory is that when it was just the two of them alone, they theorize that Michael either tried to do something with Phylicia or raped Phylicia.
I think he tried. She rebuffed. So then he raped her and then he had to kill her so she wouldn't tell.
Yep. And then they think he did take her out.
Yeah.
In a bin.
Yeah.
They think he put her on his property where the cadaver dog alerted.
Yeah.
And then moved her after some unknown amount of time.
Right.
Got rid of the bin.
Yep.
And they fully believe that he got away with murder.
Yeah. I think I agree.
Yep. And we'll be very, very clear. He was found not guilty. He's been acquitted of all charges. But they also, I don't believe, have even floated another option. And now it's been 8 years since that last trial.
I mean, well, yeah, I don't think there's any other options because they have their option. They know, like, it's very much circumstantial case, but I can see why a prosecutor agreed to issue an arrest warrant.
Right. And I believe when they took it to the grand jury the first time, they said, no, there's not enough. And they arrested him
Which
anyways.
is odd for a grand jury,
Yep.
though. So
It's
that's also
like
interesting.
a little bit backwards.
Yeah.
But then they were able to get the indictment. So everything about it is tough because either they took him to trial too soon and pushed for all three back to back, and it was him, and now we can't charge him again, or it wasn't him, and whoever did it is not really even on their radar. Can you think of another scenario that this could be, aside from her really deciding to go out and maybe being missed on surveillance and meeting foul play, opportunistic? I don't know. I think, we've covered a lot of cases on this podcast, and one of the things that I've learned is that the legal system and justice, not the same thing. They overlap. They're supposed to overlap, but sometimes in cases like this one, they diverge in ways that are almost impossible to sit with. Now, in 2024, so more than a decade after Phylicia's death, Michael Johnson was charged in an unrelated rape case. That news sent ripples through Phylicia's family and community. It didn't change the legal outcome of Phylicia's case, but it renewed the conversation. It brought her name back to the public eye. And for her family, it meant something.
Is that one moving through the court system?
I believe it's in the process of moving through the court system.
So again, not in Phylicia's, but at least he's now behind bars.
Right. Who knows for how long. If she was underage, that would
also be very telling.
Really, yeah.
And because I think about it, I know him and Dina were the same age, but if they were really together for a decade, that means they also met as minors.
Exactly.
Which, again,
really at Phylicia's age.
Yeah, which, okay, doesn't really mean anything, but I just keep going back to the fact that her sister was participating in that act with her. And here they hadn't been close and now they were close. And that's how you introduce your sister to, I don't know, that whole thing is just weird.
I feel like they had to have met a time before.
And that just reminds me of, wasn't it like the Barbie and Ken killers, where is that couple?
Oh, Carla.
Where they get the younger sister involved and and then kill her or whatever.
That is one of the most horrific cases.
Right. So I don't know why I just keep thinking of that, because I'm like, why would your little sister? And but I know there's another example of that.
Yeah.
And it's 16.
Don't know.
It's not even peer pressure. It's just that you don't really know how to verbalize no well.
Right.
And if you have people who appear to be participating and enjoying it, of course you're going to well, I want to go along too. I want to kill the mood.
Right. Especially if you're shy and
Like,
You're out of your element there.
And you did say that the other boy looked uncomfortable in the video, or was he?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
No. Just that when Dina and Michael were doing things, Michael was looking at Phylicia in the video instead of focusing on Dina. That's what it was.
Okay.
But
And they never called the younger brother to the stand, did they? Because I would be curious to want to know what his version of events is.
Right.
And how do they corroborate Dina's or not corroborate?
Mm-hmm.
Plus, he did show up to the house that day. He chose to wait. Oh, no, I'm going to wait for Phylicia to get back. I would be curious to know what his viewpoint is.
What they used to rule him out?
Well, or
too,
just
what
his viewpoint is. I want to know what his view. I still think Michael did it because Elaine wasn't there yet.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, it's just very interesting.
It is. And so now the case of Phylicia is officially closed, but it doesn't feel like she got justice.
No.
And I don't know, these episodes are hard to end because there's no satisfying conclusion to offer. We can't say justice was served or that the system worked the way it was supposed to. I guess it kind of did, but also it doesn't feel like it did.
Right. It's a roundabout way.
Yeah. And whoever took her life has not been held legally accountable. Phylicia definitely deserved better. The case of Phylicia Barnes is officially closed, but closed does not mean the truth has been found. And if you know something, anything about what happened to Phylicia Barnes on December 28th, 2010, in that apartment in Northwest Baltimore, we are asking you to come forward. It's never too late for tips. It is never too late. Tips have broken cold cases decades after the fact. One phone call from one person who has been sitting on something for years could change everything. Here's how to reach investigators. You can contact the Baltimore Metro Crime Stoppers. You can call or text 1-866-7-LOCK-UP, and you can remain completely anonymous. No name required, no court appearances required, just information. You can also reach out to the Maryland State Police Homicide Unit. The investigators who worked Phylicia's case can still receive tips. Contact them through the Maryland State Police tip line, 1-800-CALL-FBI, or the FBI Baltimore field offices. And we will list all of this and their contact in our show notes. If you're not comfortable calling, you can submit tips online through the Baltimore City Police Department's website. There's a digital tip form that's available around the clock. So please, if you know something, say something for every member of Phylicia's family who's been waiting for the truth for more than 15 years. I started this episode by telling you about a 16-year-old girl, a straight-A student, an athlete. She had a future ahead of her that should have been long and full and entirely hers. I told you that almost nobody outside of Baltimore and Monroe, North Carolina, know her name. And I hope that is no longer true for you. I hope you carry Phylicia Simone Barnes with you when you leave this episode. Not just as a case, not just in the trial coverage, but as a person, a real specific, irreplaceable person who deserved so much more than she got from the systems that were supposed to protect her and the cameras that were supposed to tell her stories. Her family gave everything they had to make sure she was not forgotten. The least we can do is make sure she isn't. Say her name, share this episode, and if you know something, you know what to do. Now, before you go, here is the development that I mentioned at the beginning of this episode. In April of 2026, Michael Johnson was found guilty of 2 counts of first-degree rape and 1 count of first-degree assault in Baltimore County, stemming from a 2024 attack on a then 19-year-old woman. Jurors rejected the attempted murder charge, though, The case drew an eerie parallel to what prosecutors alleged in Phylicia's case, that Johnson had become obsessed with a young woman, strangled her, and disposed of her body. Phylicia's father, who traveled from Georgia, and her older sister, who drove from New York City, were both in attendance for parts of the trial. Sentencing is expected in June before Judge Jan Alexander. The charges carry a maximum sentence, though, of life in prison. Phylicia's family has waited 15 years for accountability and will be watching. Thank you so much for joining us for this special crossover this week. We appreciate you, and we can't wait for you to hear the story we're bringing you next week.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Vanished Voices. We are grateful you've chosen to spend your time with us as we bring attention to these stories that too often go unheard. If you'd like to learn more about the resources and sources we used in today's episode, visit our blog, linked through our website at vanishedvoicespodcast.com. Be sure to connect with us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Just search for @VanishedVoicesPod. We'd love to hear your thoughts, feedback, and reflections, and to continue building this community with you. If you found value in today's episode, please take a moment to rate, review, and share the podcast. Your support not only helps us reach more listeners, but also helps amplify the voices of those who can no longer speak for themselves. You can find Vanished Voices on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, and all other major streaming platforms. And as always, refuse to let these voices vanish.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Mom, can you tell me a story?
Sure. Once upon a time, a mom needed a new car.
Was she brave?
She was tired, mostly. But she went to Carvana.com and found a great car at a great price. No secret treasure map required.
Did she have to fight a dragon?
Nope, she bought it 100% online. From her bed, actually.
Was it scary?
Honey, it was as unscary as car buying could be.
Did the car have a sunroof?
It did, actually.
Okay, good story.
Car buying you'll want to tell stories about. Buy your car today on
Carvana.
Delivery fees may apply.